Hey everybody, welcome to another drive-through rundown. It's been a while since I did one of these micro reviews, but I've already reviewed the Ukrainian edition of Mysterium. Here is the English edition from Asmodee, and you can see it's got a very awesome cover on it. I'll go ahead and do a little bit of a spoiling because to me, this is now the definitive version of Mysterium. And if you watch my old review, you'll know that I was a little bit leery of this because just some of the art they had shown or something. Basically, I'm an idiot. The art and stuff in this is fantastic, and I'll say definitely it's better than the previous editions. Now, there are some other rule changes and things which I'll talk about here, specifically to do with the Endgame. But let's go ahead and crack the box open. I'll kind of walk through a little bit of the changes. You will know that I've already kind of predisposed to like the game. Had a chance to play this now a couple of times with the rule changes and, of course, the new components. So let's jump in. So as you'll see here, the box has an awesome insert. Just a quick comment on the rules. And one thing, it's hard for me to know, and I'll get more to this a little bit later, but the rules are much more better written, I think. But the rules I had were downloaded off of Board Game Geek, so not really professionally translated and so on. But the rules are very quick, easy to get into. But of course, I already played the game, so I already kind of knew most of what they had to offer. But I do think the rules are pretty clear, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Here is really probably the cornerstone of the components. This is a screen that the Ghost player will use, and you crack this open, and you will stand this up in front of you, and you will have a look now at the various different player colors there, and you have these different slots. So you can see for the blue player and the yellow player, I've got the person, the place, and the thing, so to speak. So I'll go ahead and tuck cards into here, and then you can know, what you'll have cards dealt out on the table, you know what you've already associated with. So it kind of cleans up the table space a little bit, makes it easier for the Ghost to manage, especially in a large player count game, who has what and things. And plus it looks really awesome. When the other players are looking at it, it's got this cool sort of, Victorian staircase, sort of spooky looking, dimly lit, awesome, fantastic, just awesome screen here. Now the next thing we have to do here is we have this clock board here, and I'll set this up now. But first, I just wanted to show the actual insert and how it functions. So you got all the pieces in here very nicely. Everything is organized. You can sort out the different cards very easily. It's got the little timer here, each of the different player color pieces. And we do actually have these orbs. I didn't know these were coming in this edition when I did my previous review, because that was one of my favorite parts of that. They look more like disco balls, but here you can see they have these sort of claws. They look like these sort of, like a crystal ball as you're doing a seance or something like that. So the insert's really cool. So let's go ahead and put together this clock. So we've gone ahead and put this together, and this is simply the round tracker, and it's friggin' amazing. I love this. I mean, they didn't have to do this. I mean, you have the screen, and you have this round tracker, which is a clock. So again, you've got 7 rounds in the game, and the players and the investigators have to guess the different clues that the ghosts give. Awesome type of thing. Now you can see here, it has these spots here for these clairvoyancy tokens, which is a new addition to the game. I'll talk more about those in a minute. Now the dream cards here, this is a large stack of dream cards, and if you haven't seen, these are kind of like Dixit cards. They got very surreal imagery. You can see this rat with a top hat, and there's a little game or something like that down there. And then we've also got here another top hat with some different sort of weird abstract imagery. You've got mice and different things inside of somebody's coat. Really awesome artwork. I mean, you can really sit here and just stare at this stuff. These different animals sort of stacked on each other, sort of carrying the world. Sometimes you might be playing these sort of referencing the color or a specific thing, or just maybe an overall tone or something. So it gets really cool and very sort of ethereal, which fits the theme perfectly. So you have these stack of cards. And then these other cards here, the little ones here, are the ones that you're going to actually stick in the ghost screen. So for example, these are the item cards here. And these are nice. You keep these in order, which actually makes them very easy to sort out. So for example, if I were to set up the items, this is a small touch with the components here. I'll go ahead and shuffle these up and then deal these out, per the number of players. But then I can go ahead and see, okay, that's number 53. And so I feel like I'm going to give that to Billy, and then so I can take the 53 here. And these are easy and quick to find, and then go ahead and insert into your screen here. So that's very easy to do, which is great. It's a great little addition having these numbers on like that. And so you can see sort of blow-ups of the different items. And I will say the art on these actual cards that the players will be investigating is much clearer to me than the previous editions. I really like the previous editions, but sort of now in comparison, the art in the older editions is a little bit muddy. So here we have the places. So we got this sort of crazy looking bedroom there. And so you can just see, you know, it's very much more distinctive, which is a little bit more pleasant to play because you don't really have, it's enough problem like discerning what the ghost is trying to tell you, or if you're playing as the ghost, you know, what you're trying to communicate can be difficult, but it's nice to have a little bit more clarity in the imagery of the card. So I think that goes a huge way to doing that. And so we've got here, let's just look at some more art. Art's always good. I mean, look at this and go look at maybe my old review or other reviews or pictures and look at the clarity of the items and the sharpness of the characters and so on. Very good. You know, a little cartoony, and that was something I had seen, and I'm like, oh, you're going to lose kind of that mystic sort of ghost theme, but you don't. You really don't at all. And this is very, you know, indicative of the time period, and this is the sort of the type of thing that you might see in these types of stories. Now the other nice little component is you'll set these out and you can see here, whoops, you have the places. So you can put the places, you know, underneath that, and the item cards will go underneath these. So there's just a nice little touch there. And then we have also these envelopes that we can give to different players. And I'll talk more about these in a minute. And then we also have these little things to manage. The ghosts will actually put these tokens behind their screen, and so they can use these and sort of push these in and out and kind of gauge where the players are at. So this is kind of just a simple little way of counting what's going on with the player. Now the other thing, if you remember, the ghost player can discard a certain number of these dream cards based on the difficulty level. So if you were playing, I think at the medium difficulty level, you can get 3 discards per game, and you'll actually equip these crows on top of the screen. So you're going to put these on here, then you can pull them off to remind yourself that you've used that discard, which is, you know, it's, I mean, that's just above and beyond, really. It's really cool that they do that. So let's talk about the rule changes here. Now we have here some more of these tokens here, and we have these little bitty tokens. You can see that there. And now what you're going to be using with these is actually using these to track sort of the clairvoyance level. So if the blue player's here, and I'll explain here how you get the clairvoyance level up to here, 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 here. Now at the end of the game, you're going to reveal cards to the other players, and the rules say you don't communicate with them, and you're going to reveal the cards one at a time. So as you play the game, if the players find out all the different icons and things that they need to through the game, then you're going to go into the final thing. You're going to take all of the different suspects, shuffle them up, and then put them out, and then you're going to sort of pick one as the ghost, and then you're going to put out 3 dream cards to match those, and each of these is going to match one of the aspects again, the item, the person, or the place. Now depending on where the player is on this track, they can only see 1, 2, or all 3 of those cards. They're going to actually make a guess and stick their guess in the envelope here. And stuff that I've read online, people are like, I don't like it. The one thing I've had a problem with Mysterium is the endgame. To me, this is the most satisfying endgame. It throws a wrench into the whole dynamic of the players as they're trying to go through the game. Now, here's the other sort of connection with that, is the way that you move up here to sort of see the number of cards at the end of the game is you have to sort of work with the other players during the game up until that point. So each player gets these little clairvoyancy tokens. And so if you say, hey, you know, if I think that, let's just pick a random card here. I think this is my person. You know, we're on the person level. And the blue player says that. You know, the yellow player goes, you know what, I agree with you. So I'm going to point to your little blue crystal ball here and say, yep, I'm with you. Now, if I'm correct, then I get a clairvoyant point. So I get to move up here. And if I don't think you're right, you can see we have this one here that says, nope, I think you're wrong, buddy. And if you are wrong, then I also get a clairvoyancy point. Now you're going to discard these. So you only have a certain amount of these based on the number of players. And so you can use these throughout the game to sort of beef up and move up this level here and be able to see the different numbers of cards at the end of the game, which I think is great. I think it's really interesting, very different, not something I've seen in a game before. And then you can actually see that the other side of these is to pick a number. So as you go through, you're going to put your number in here. So let's say I thought number 4 was it. I put it in my envelope, and maybe I had to pick early because I didn't get that high. So I only get to see one card, and then we reveal a second card and a third card. And then what you're going to do is you're going to reveal these now, is you're going to spill these out, and then whichever person gets the most votes is sort of collectively what the group voted for. And then that comes together, and if the players win, if that's the correct culprit. Now my one sort of issue with this is, and it's hard for me to know, but I've played this I think 8 or 9 times altogether with both versions of the game, and I think this might be a little bit weird if I was first coming at the game having not played it before, but then, you know, I'm just not sure. Now the folks that I played it with have also already played the original game, so we were talking about it and was like, I think it might be a little bit too much, but then on the other hand, it's not really that difficult to explain. You know, you get these, you vote if the person you think is right or wrong, and then you kind of do the vote at the end, and it's kind of interesting that way. But I don't know, I kind of wish that was sort of a variant in this rules, just because I think the other ways that you could do the Endgame in the Ukraine and also the Polish edition, I think the Ukraine was the better, is a little bit more straightforward. But we found with that, the Endgame was super anticlimactic, and we can never figure out a good variant that we liked. We kind of changed the rules all the time. That's kind of my problem with the Mysterium in general. It was like awesome until the end. It was like, who cares? You know, I figured out mine. We all guessed the thing, and it's like it always seemed to be super easy at the end to guess it, if you could get through that. You know, the game always seemed to fail going through the turns. But with this new kind of clairvoyancy mechanic, that does make it very interesting and sort of different, and adds sort of a cool sort of tension, sort of competition almost kind of thing to it, because you have sort of this communication and sort of disagreement or agreement leading into the final phase, and trying to sort of beef up your clairvoyancy powers and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty neat. It's a very unique and different way of doing it. So if you don't have Mysterium, 100% get this one. If you've already got one of the other editions, I would say get this one. It's got the better sort of you know, components and things, and it's also got this sort of quote-unquote variant Endgame that you can at least play around with and try out. And there's nothing stopping you from playing it, you know, with the original way. You can just go download the rules for the Ukrainian edition, at least in my opinion, on BoardGame. You can just play it that way. But across the board, stellar components, artwork. I love this new variant, you know, and I think I'm in the minority of that, because everybody I talked to is like, oh, it's stupid, you know, and I'm like, I thought it was going to be dumb too, but I think it's really cool. I think it's interesting and neat and very different. So there you go. Thanks.